After more than 9 years on YouTube and with a following of over 82,000 subscribers, I get asked a lot of questions about collecting vintage toys. And quite often I'll be asked the same question again and again and again. So I thought I'd take the time in this video to answer your most frequently asked questions. Stay tuned. Hey toy fans, my name is Tony and welcome back to the Analog Toys YouTube channel. Okay, where did you get that t-shirt? I got it where I get all of my t-shirts, in Kmart. Can you tell me what this toy is worth? This is a question I get asked a hell of a lot. People will reach out via the Facebook page or sometimes in the YouTube comment section asking me to give them a value of a vintage toy. This channel has a policy of not offering valuations because I don't want to mislead the audience, and I am not necessarily up to speed with the current prices of vintage toy lines. Like, unless there's been something I've been trying to purchase recently and I've been watching the market, I really don't know the answer to those questions. So my recommendation, if you've got a vintage toy and you're wanting to know what it's worth, have a look around on eBay, but don't look at the prices that people are asking for. Do a search for sold listings. Look for some comparable items that have been sold recently and kind of what prices they went for, and that'll give you a good indication of what your toy's worth. Does Kmart still exist? Yes, Kmart still exists here in Australia, and it is a thriving business. Can you make a video about such and such a toy line? This is another question I get asked a hell of a lot. And often people will be asking for some very weird kind of esoteric toy line, like Remco's Warlords or Wheeled Warriors. Now, because of the way I make my videos, the vast majority of the time I need to own the toys. I don't want to use imagery from the internet or anything like that. I like the toys to look a certain way when I present them on camera. And if I don't have them here in the studio and I'm not able to film them myself, it's very hard for me to make a video about a particular toy line, like Matchbox Fighting Furies. What does the wife say when you spend a load of money on toys? Well, I was a toy collector long before I met my wife, and at the time that I met my wife and we kind of got serious and she first moved in with me, I was actually editing the Story of Action Man documentary feature film. So from the earliest moments of our relationship, toys have always been a thing. She knows it's my thing, and she knows that toys make me happy, so she would never stop me doing anything like that. So long as I continue to provide for the family, pay all the bills, and treat her to a nice birthday present every now and again, she's really not worried what I spend my disposable income on. So there you go.
Bart, where'd you get that shirt?
Ah yes, the old favourite question. I got this one at the Kmart on Ramsay Street. How do you keep dust off your toys? Now, I can't believe how often I get asked this question because it makes me concerned about the future of the human race. Dust is dust. It's a thing in every household, and if you're worried about getting dust on your toys, maybe you shouldn't bother collecting them. But if I were to recommend anything, keep your toys in a room that is not frequently trafficked. You keep the door closed. If you can afford it, get yourself some glass cabinets, keep them behind glass. But even behind glass cabinets, you're still going to have a dust issue over a period of time. So you're going to have to get toys out and dust off the shelves. Now, when you do have to dust, I recommend using a soft paintbrush. You can get into all the nooks and crannies of your action figures and you're very unlikely to damage any paint. But yeah, I recommend to keep toys behind glass if possible. Now, of course, in the studio here, I don't keep these toys behind glass because it's not very good for the lighting setup when I'm filming videos. But aside from the toys that are displayed in the studio, I try and keep everything else behind glass.
We mortals are but shadows and dust. Shadows and dust, Maximus!
If you enjoy the content that we create here at Analog Toys, why not take a moment to subscribe to the channel by clicking the little button down there. It's free, it's easy, and it really does go a long way in helping this channel grow, which also enables us to create more high quality videos like the one you're watching right now. So do yourself a favour and subscribe, and while you're there, click the notification bell to make sure that you get notified whenever a new video drops. What is your favourite toy? Well, that is a very easy answer for me, and that is my childhood Action Man figure. I had a few Action Men in childhood, but this guy was my favourite. The reason I know it's him is because he's actually got a few scars on his chest and on his arm that I actually burnt him with a hot match head because I was a little bit of a sadistic kid and I wanted him to look a little bit like Rambo.
Oh, Christ. We should report this to Teasel, Galt. Look at that.
This guy actually went missing in the collection for a lot. I say missing, he was misplaced for a very long time. I had actually dressed him up in a uniform and made him the Jeep driver in my Action Man display, and it wasn't until I was moving house one time and I had to rearrange the collection, I decided that I didn't want the guy in the Jeep to be wearing the particular uniform he had on. I took the uniform off and I went, there's my childhood Action Man. And that's the only way I knew it was him, because he has the telltale scar on his chest and on his arm. And this is the first and only toy I would grab if the building was on fire and I had to get out in a hurry. I'd take this guy with me because we have been on adventures all over the world. He travelled with me in my backpack when my family moved from England to Australia in 1988. So he's been by my side all these years, and I'll stay by his side too.
Where'd you get that shirt? The Diesel store?
Now this is a great question. I've never had this one before. Where did you get that t-shirt? Well, I got this one in my local Kmart in the Japanese Star Wars t-shirt section. How do you clean vintage toys? Well, the real easy answer, if you're just talking about plastic action figures, is hot soapy water and a toothbrush. Of course, if they have any kind of electronic components, they're battery powered, don't be submerging them in water. That answer gets a lot more complicated when you start talking about toy lines such as Action Man, where you're now considering the options of how to clean miniature 1/6 scale clothing and stuff like that. That could be a whole video unto itself, but not one that I particularly want to make because it's boring talking about detergents and soaps and brushes and stuff. So, you know, maybe look for that kind of thing on another channel. Okay, where can I find cheap vintage toys? You wouldn't believe how many times people ask me this question, and it often comes in a message on the Analog Toys Facebook page where people say, I really want to buy some vintage Action Man figures like the ones in your collection, but the prices on eBay are ridiculous. Can you let me know where I can get them really cheaply? If I knew the answer to that, I'd probably be buying them myself. At the end of the day, vintage toys are very desirable. There is a huge community of people who collect these things, and the rarer and the older that they are and the more popular the franchise, the price unfortunately is going to go up and up and up. And in my experience, there is just very, very few opportunities to get quality vintage toys for cheap. So it's a real shame. You know, I don't collect for monetary value. I wish that all of this stuff was worth a pittance so I could have 5 times as much of it. But at the end of the day, it's the nature of this particular hobby. So if you're in an unfortunate financial position and you can't afford to collect vintage toys, then try and pursue the hobby from a slightly different direction. For example, like if you can't afford expensive vintage Action Force toys, then maybe go out and buy the comics because they're not quite as expensive. Okay, last question of the day. Does Kmart still exist?
Tell him, Ray.
Teamwork sucks. I see.
And thank you all for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, you can click the links over here to check out some of our other vintage toy content. or subscribe to the channel by clicking down here, or consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get access to hours and hours of exclusive content. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, and I'll see you in the next video.